eclectic spiritual leaders of the day. She is recognized throughout the world as a spiritual teacher, author, rebirther, lecturer, and healer. Sondra was launched into the international acclaim in the 1970s as one of the pioneers of the rebirthing experience. She has trained thousands of people all over the world and is considered one of the foremost experts on how the birth trauma affects one's body, relationships, career, and life. Sondra is also known for her training, some of which include the Loving Relationships Training, which is also called LRT, for her rebirthing, for rejuvenation, cooperation, sacred relationships, as well as seminars in the teaching of the aspects of the Divine Mother. Sondra has taken these seminars and trainings across the globe to countries such as England, France, Spain, Germany, Iceland, Poland, Sweden, Russia, New Zealand, Bali, Japan. She also takes people every year to India on annual pilgrimages. Sondra has a bachelor's degree in nursing from the University of Florida College of Nursing and a master's degree in public health and family sociology from the University of Arizona. She was trained as a nurse practitioner in obstetrics and gynecology. Early on, she worked in the Peace Corps and was stationed in Peru. Sondra has written over 15 books, which include her latest book, Rock Your World with the Divine Mother. You can find more about Sondra Ray on her website, which is sondraray.com. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So nice to have you here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
You know, Sondra, you really are the mother of rebirthing, aren't you?
That's what they call me.
So why don't you tell, what is rebirth? What exactly is rebirthing?
Oh, rebirthing is a wonderful spiritual purification technique done with breathing, and you breathe in a certain way in the upper chest. And you breathe in a circular, smooth rhythm with no holding at the top and no holding at the bottom. And you breathe this way for a whole hour. And a lot of energy comes in your body, and the energy has an innate intelligence, and it pushes out stress, negativity, suppressed negative thoughts, birth trauma, past lives, pain. And the most wonderful thing is you can get rid of pain. I had a lot of pain when I came to rebirthing. I had pain for about 14 years. When my father died, it started, and I couldn't get rid of it, you know. And I also had other problems. My hair was falling out after a divorce.
Stress.
I was wearing wigs. So I had a lot of problems when I came to rebirthing. And after only 3 sessions, all the pain I had had for 14 years left my body permanently. So you can see why I became a rebirther.
So were you just holding a cellular memory in your body? Is that?
Well, when my father died, you know, it brings up a lot of things in your body when a parent dies. And it's really the unconscious death programming comes up. And if you don't release it, it will create tension and pain in the body. So I knew it was psychosomatic because it would move around, but that it was still pain.
Right.
And nobody could help me with it. Not one person in my own medical profession could help me. But in rebirthing, it only took 3 sessions.
That's wonderful.
So that's what I like to tell people is you can have a pain-free body.
Well, one of the things I like the best about rebirthing, too, is I have known to be a fairly impatient person. Go figure. And to me, it's not something, it's so quick. You
Yes.
just breathe it in and you breathe it out, and it moves so quickly. To me, that's so powerful.
Right. You know, and people tell us that they get more out of a couple sessions of rebirthing than they did of 10 years of therapy.
Exactly.
Yeah, and the reason why is in therapy, sometimes you're analyzing the darkness.
Right.
And in rebirthing, we're pulling in the light, and the light pushes out the darkness on the exhale. So we're not analyzing the darkness, we're releasing it through the light.
Just let it go. Don't have to even talk
Yes.
about it. Well, when you do this rebirthing process, do you necessarily go back to your birth?
Eventually, if you keep with it, and you know, we consider rebirthing a lifelong spiritual path, and eventually
Right.
your birth trauma will come up when you're ready. And after you release your trauma, the memory of your birth, you feel totally different. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to remember it the first session. You
Right.
know. You only let up in each session what you're ready to let go of. It's totally safe. So you may not be ready to look at your birth trauma the first session. You might have to go through an incident that happened at 5 or something. But eventually it will all come out. And the memory is all stored in there. Just because you can't consciously remember your birth doesn't mean it's not recorded. So you were there,
Right.
so it's all recorded.
So
and
it's in your memory.
It's in your cellular memory, right.
And you know, they say that it's which is kind of hard to grasp, that it's harder to be born than it is to die. Isn't that something?
Well,
man.
you know, it is very scary for a newborn, even a normal birth, you know, because you're coming down the vaginal canal, and it's very dark and you don't know where you're going. And you have to get the atmosphere in and the liquid out. So, you know, it's like taking a fish and throwing it on the beach and saying, breathe, figure it out yourself, you know.
Just slap that fish.
Yeah. And so the baby's coming out, and it has to get the amniotic fluid out of the lungs and the atmosphere in. And unfortunately, they cut the cord too fast, the doctors, most times in the past. So then the baby's choking on its own amniotic fluid. And the way they handled that was to turn the baby upside down and slap it, and babies do not like that.
I kind of like it now, but just kidding.
You're funny.
Call me. So anyway, Sondra,
You like being turned upside down too?
I could work with that. So also, it's the temperature change, and it goes from dark to all this bright lights.
Right,
and
you know,
talking.
and recently I saw some films on ordinary birth compared to the underwater birth they do in Russia. And here these babies are coming out, and the cord's cut really fast, they're choking, and then they take cloth and they rub the skin really hard, and you know, babies can't stand
never been
that.
touched before.
It's like putting a hot iron on the baby's skin, and the babies are screaming. You know,
It's like torture.
They should never have these bright lights and this cold temperature and rubbing them, and then they stick all this stuff in their eyes, and they stick all kinds of pins in them for tests. And
so quick, rough with them.
and it's the baby's first 5 minutes. Well, you could compare it to this. Let's imagine a couple saves up their whole life to go down to Mexico, Puerto Vallarta for a vacation, and they go in the hotel and the doors slam and the staff proceeds to beat them up. That's kind of how a baby feels.
Yeah, really, it's very
I'm
unfortunate.
talking about a normal birth. Imagine if you were a cesarean, breech, forceps, preemie, and an incubator, et cetera, it's more birth trauma.
Now, you wrote a book about birth traumas, birthing relationships.
Birth and relationships.
Birth and relationships.
Yeah.
Which, it's such a great book.
Thank you.
You know, so explain that the most births are traumatic no matter what, as you just explained. But also what I thought was interesting is that the way that you're born, the physical circumstances around your birth, have to do with personality traits or how you live your life, the rest of your life.
Yeah, well, let's just take a normal birth first, and then we'll go to the other births.
Sure.
A normal birth, the baby comes out, and it's turned upside down. The doctor slaps it. So if it's a girl baby, she might get a preverbal thought, men hurt me, okay? Then she suppresses that thought until she grows up and starts going out with men. And then that thought almost, you know, the more you suppress something, the more it has an intensity, the more intense it gets.
Right.
So that thought has an intensity, and it's out there like, men hurt me, almost
It's very
like
unconscious.
Yeah, it's a pre-verbal thought. And so then a man hurts her, and then she says, see, I knew it, those bastards, men hurt me. Then she reinforces
She collects
the thought.
evidence to show that men
Yeah, and
hurt
it
me.
keeps perpetuating until you find out that that's a thought you can change. Then if you have a complicated birth, like, let's say somebody is forceps. Well, I used to go out with a guy that was forceps, and every time I was with him, I felt like I had to go, come on with me. You know, I felt like I had to pull him, you know.
That's funny.
And then if somebody's induced, then you have to induce them to get going, and then they resent it, but they set it up for you to induce them.
So they're not self-starters.
Yeah, if they're induced, you know, they were artificially started. The labor was artificially started by Pitocin drip medical technique. And so these people are waiting to be induced, you know. Or if they're cesarean, you can imagine a cesarean is a very dramatic scene.
Popped out.
And there's a lot of blood, and you know, if the husband is there, sometimes he passes out. It's just too much, you know. So here's this baby with all these knives, you know, everywhere, and the baby has to be lifted out. And I have rebirthed people that are cesarean. You go to their house, they have a knife collection on the wall. Or otherwise, they're terrified.
Really?
They're either fascinated with knives or they're terrified of knives. And one of my clients, she used to go hunting with her father, and she got very good at skinning the animals with a knife. And they have a lot of fear of being hurt, because sometimes I had one client, she got her her ear nicked.
I was just going to say that,
when
sawing
they cut
through the mother's stomach.
Yeah. And so these people have a lot of drama in their life, and they also had trouble completing things because they didn't get to complete their birth. So if you see a bunch of cesareans sitting together, they don't finish their sentences, but they all understand each other.
That's funny. That's funny. Well, what about people, because back in, we have so many baby boomers right now, and they were all, so many of the mothers were drugged.
Yes.
They didn't know any better. They just drugged the
yeah.
heck. So look how many we went to the 60s with all these druggies.
Right.
Is that just an escape method?
Yeah, it's definitely related. And, when the baby is in the womb and the mother has a lot of anesthesia, you can imagine it crosses the placenta, and the placenta is not a barrier, it's like a sieve. So the whole amount of drugs goes into this little baby's body. So it comes out just really kind of drugged and out of it. And then it feels like to the baby, it feels like the mother has died or something, because all of a sudden there's no energy there, the mother's out, everything's out, and the mother can't push anymore, because she's drugged, so sometimes then they have to do a forceps. And it's definitely related to drugs. There's studies on this is related to drugs later on. And the problem with rebirthing people who had a lot of drugs is they'll just fall right asleep when they're rebirthing.
Yes.
Yeah. And then you have to wake them, keep them breathing. You're trying to get them to breathe out the anesthesia, but they can't stay awake to breathe it out. So you have to get real clever about how to handle these people.
And you can also sometimes smell ambiotic fluid, can't you?
And
that is just bizarre.
And there was one psychiatrist I rebirthed in France, and I rebirthed him with the founder of Rebirthing, Leonard Orr. And the smell came out of his body so heavy we had to run to the window because we thought we were going to pass out. So I said to him, have you ever had anesthesia, surgeries? He said, no. And I said, have you ever been in the hospital since your birth? He said, no. All these drugs came out of his body that were stored in his cells from his birth and practically knocked us out. And this is sometimes why people need 10 cups of coffee, because the anesthesia is still in their body.
It's so heavy. Wow. Well, what is what's the basic procedure if someone wanted to get rebirthed? Is it just a couple times or as many times as you want? Is there, how long does it take, and what do you suggest?
One session lasts an hour. You come, it's a 2-hour experience. You come, you get interviewed. You come to the rebirther's house, or they come to yours. And you breathe for one continuous hour, and then you have a completion and integration. So it's a 2-hour thing for dry rebirthing. And we recommend 10 sessions with a female and 10 sessions with a male.
Really?
Because if you have a male, it brings up more of your father's stuff. It's a different experience. And then after you've had 10 sessions with each, then you can go on to wet rebirthing. Wet rebirthing is done in a jacuzzi or a hot tub.
Okay.
You can do it in the bathtub. You have to roll right up in the fetal position. So it's either a bathtub, jacuzzi, or hot tub. And you breathe rolled up in the fetal position through a nose.
And the purpose is to go back into the womb?
Yeah, and you breathe with your snorkel and nose plugs in the presence of a rebirther who's holding you. And it's hot water, and it's very powerful. It's really powerful. And then we have cold water rebirthing.
Which sounds so brutal. Why would you do cold?
Really intense, because cold water rebirthing is for releasing anesthesia. It's for releasing your death programming. So if your death energy is up, you get in the cold water. It really comes out fast. But it's very powerful, cold water rebirthing. And then we have group rebirthing that's done in the context of a seminar. Like when I do seminars, I always...
I think we lost you there. So in cold water rebirthing, and then...
In seminars, we do group rebirthing. So...
Thank you.
Okay, we'll figure it out later. Yeah. So in seminars, I have group rebirthing. Like all day Saturday, I may be teaching something that's very powerful, like how your birth affects your relationships or whatever. And people need to breathe after receiving this information. So fortunately, we can just lay everybody down on the floor, and we have a whole team of rebirthers, and they go around, and we do a group rebirthing.
Those are powerful, too.
Yeah,
they really are.
That works, too, and because, it reminds you of being in the nursery with all the babies.
Oh, I didn't think of that, but you're right.
It's very good. Very
so
good.
If someone wanted to, I know you've trained people all over the world, literally all over the world. If someone were interested in rebirthing, how do you suggest they go about finding someone?
Our main center is Philadelphia Rebirthing Center, so they could go online and find that, and then they could get a rebirther in their area.
Okay, that's Tony and Maureen Lamastro,
Right.
and they have the PhiladelphiaRebirthingCenter.com. It's very easy to find, and
keep
they will
track of all
send you
that.
up across.
Yes.
Because we have rebirthers here in Las Vegas. I know
Right.
your organizer here, Juanita Corral,
yes.
is a great
She's
rebirther.
very good. So people right here can get rebirth with her.
Excellent. So you have some other things that are very interesting about you that I like to talk about. One of the things is you have a passion for immortality.
Yes.
So tell us about immortality.
We're talking about physical immortality.
Yes, physical immortality.
Just
What's
to
the
be
secret of
clear.
immortality? Keep breathing or you're right back in the birth canal? If you stop breathing, you're right back in that canal.
I choose to be alive in consecutive moments of now. You know, it is like the basic affirmation is I am life.
I am life.
I am life, and I choose to stay alive in consecutive moments of now. And then adopting the idea of physical immortality has incredible benefits. And first of all, what it means is the ability to stay in your body as long as you choose by the power of your mind and practicing certain spiritual laws. So you really have to become a spiritual master, however. But,
Right.
you know, what else have you got to do with your life, right?
Exactly.
That's a good
You gotta
thing to
breathe
do with your
and you
life.
gotta-
Yes, and the purpose of it is not so you can walk around and brag that you're 200 years old.
Right.
The purpose of it is so that you can keep your body young and do a service. And it's a mission. If you're in a mission of divine service, it would be a shame to start getting sick and old and dying just when you get all your wisdom.
Exactly. That is
So
interesting.
That's the real thing, that you've agreed to stay here and do a mission of divine service with a healthy body. And by the way, right now, after this, I am going to the Valley of Immortals in Ecuador, taking a group. And I've never been there, so I'm all excited. This is where people live hundreds of years, and the energy is really, really high. So it's going to be my first trip, and hopefully an annual event.
And that's already sold out, isn't it?
Yeah, it was
So-
sold out immediately, and I haven't even been there
Amazing.
yet. Great. So now everybody says, oh, I'm sorry I didn't get in. I want to go up with you next year. So people are fascinated with this subject. And to me, it goes along with the idea of ascension. Ascension is
Okay.
when you raise the frequencies of your body and you increase the light quotient, and you go to a higher and higher vibration. And then when you do that, you feel better and better and more alive and more healthy. And when you get to a certain frequency, by doing spiritual practices, you become in a state that's high enough where you kind of remain ageless if you're in the right frequency. So it's all about frequency. And, you know, the whole planet now is ascending to a higher
Right.
vibration between now and 2012. And we have this opportunity that we've never had before to make thousands of years of spiritual practice in 1 year. It would have taken thousands of years before to make the leaps that we can make in 1 year between now and 2012. So if the planet is going to a new dimension, we better go with it, right?
Right.
If we don't, it's going to be difficult. So people that refuse to go with the way the planet's going, they'll have
They're
a
gonna
hard
go
time.
that way. They're gonna
They
take a
have
hard left.
time. So you have to give up anger, guilt,
Forgiveness.
Yeah, you know, forgiveness for sure has to be. You know, one sign of spiritual advancement is have you totally forgiven your parents. That's just one sign, you know. So forgiveness is the key to happiness anyway. But physical immortality has so many benefits because imagine being able to have a lot of time. What would you do with all this time? You have so much time to get enlightened, for one thing. That's the whole point. And you feel better than you ever felt before, and, you know, you have more energy.
Right.
Your body heals itself fast, or you don't get sick. So these are benefits instantly. You feel more intelligent, more
Sure,
alive.
it's clear.
Yeah, you feel more clear. So what happens is the people have what we call an unconscious death urge. And that's kind of like a conglomerate in the subconscious. It contains the following. Contains the thought, I'm separate from God. Contains the thought, death is inevitable. Your worst core belief about yourself. All your anti-life thoughts. Your past life memories of dying. Your ancestors' programming. And, you know, the secret wish to die if you hate your life. All of that is called the unconscious death urge, and it kills you unless you breathe it out. So
Literally.
So, you know, we say all death is really suicide.
Yeah, I guess you're right. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
because you kill yourself with your thoughts, and you keep stuffing negative thoughts in your body, and what happens is the body can no longer clear itself. And if you don't have a technique like rebirthing, how are you going to clear all this crap out of the body? These ego thoughts, they actually crystallize, and the body can't clear itself, and then you have no more room to take a breath. See? And this can be changed. This can be changed. And this is a wonderful thing to dedicate your life to because you feel so much better.
Absolutely. Well, it sure works for you because I'm telling you, every time I see Sondra, you look younger. You look more vibrant, more younger.
you.
And I don't know who, besides Barbara and Steve, how many people travel as much as you do. My Lord.
Right,
And you are on the go.
I just did 9 stops in Europe, one week in each stop. I never did so much back to back, but I was okay. I didn't get tired.
I don't know
didn't
how
get
you do it.
sick. And well, one of the secrets is I stay in absolute present time, and then I love where I'm at, and I say, okay, right now I'm in Croatia. I live in Croatia. You know? This week I live in Croatia, and I'm here, and I don't think about the past or the future. I stay right 100% in present time. And I do spiritual practices of my own. You know, I'm a student of the Course in Miracles, and I have Babaji is my female teacher, and Babaji is my male teacher.
I wanted to ask
give
you
me
about
energy.
That. Now, they're gurus, correct?
Yes, and
Now, some people would say, and can we put her Sondra's website up because it's very important that you'll find so much information on her website where she's at and her trainings, and so sondraray.com. Some people would say that the idea of a guru is really outdated. What do you say to that?
Oh, well, they should try it before they criticize it. You know? And first of all, it depends on if you have the right guru. And Babaji is called a Maha Avatar, which means he descended directly from the source, and he was not born of a woman. Now, how can you get any higher than that?
Right.
See? And that kind of freaks people out because you never heard of such a thing. However, it is in the Bible in Hebrews 7, Melchizedek.
Really?
It said Melchizedek had no father, no mother, no beginning, no end. He's a priest for all times, which means he materialized his body from the source. So it is even in the Bible. So that a Maha Avatar is someone that can just materialize their body and dematerialize their body. And I've seen him do it, and I feel that's the highest possible thing I could study with. That's why I'm studying with Babaji. And, you know,
Do you just aspire to do that as well?
there's only before Babaji or after Babaji in my life, because before Babaji I had no idea who I was or what I could do. And it's the very accelerated, rapid path, because if you have a true master like that, they push you to be all that you can be as fast as you can take it, you see.
Be careful for what you ask for, huh?
Right. But it's like having, you know, like being in bliss in your own home to have this master in your life, you know.
And he's obviously an aspect of God, correct?
He is directly from God, and there's nothing go between.
No separation.
No separate. And this is why Babaji can actually have 108 different bodies if he wants to, because he does not have the thought, I can't do that.
So you never know what the heck he looks like.
I mean, you know, he's unlimited. If he's directly from the source, he can do anything he wants, you know. So I have seen him bilocate and so on.
You've personally seen him do that?
Yeah. And people can read the autobiography of a yogi by Yogananda.
Which is one of my favorite books.
Yeah. It's a life-changing book, isn't it?
Yes, it absolutely is.
And chapter 33 and 34 are about Babaji. So I have the honor to